And record. Okay.
Perfect. Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Episode 3. Awesome. We're going to be
Mhm.
talking about body image when it comes to pregnancy and postpartum. I did want to just put a little disclaimer from last episode. We talked a lot about nutrition, and we both said that we refer out to a registered dietitian. And while maybe counting macros and calories don't work specifically for us, that doesn't mean it can't work for you. And if you have questions or things like that, please reach out to a registered dietitian. And if you don't have one, please reach out to one of us and we can give you that referral. There's a reason we refer out because that's not our area of expertise. So I just want to make sure we put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely agree with everything that Coach Chris just said. And that especially today we'll be talking a lot about personal and professional experience. So, keeping in mind that though these are, in some cases, opinions, that they are based on what is being talked about in the field and scientifically based. If it is an opinion, we'll try to clarify that, but that the best people to be able to support you with any body image issues or dietary concerns is a registered dietitian.
Yes, 100%. All right. Well, how do we want to start this? Do we want to start with um, pregnancy and work towards postpartum?
Um, I guess we could do that. Why don't we do like just a little brief overview of kind of what body image is in general
Sure.
first, and then
Yeah.
kind of like get into the specifics of when we
Okay.
experience it. So, I mean, you came to me first with this, so I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one, and I want to follow your lead a little bit more here. And I don't mind stepping in when I feel like there's something to be explored a little bit more, but we said last time that we were watching, you had watched the House of Mar,
Yes.
um, their or listened to their podcast. And then after that episode, I ended up going and listening as well. So that I would have like that same reference base as you. And so, yeah, I guess share kind of a little bit of what you took away from that and why you wanted to touch on this more, and then we'll go from there.
So after I listened to that podcast, I've always been kind of inspired by Alona and her take. She has more of an athletic build. And I think for so many, even today, people see that as a bad thing. But we all are different, and it wouldn't matter if you did the same exact workout and ate the same exact thing as me, your body would respond differently and may look different than mine. And that's just who we are as humans. And I think we're so critical of ourselves, specifically around the way we look, which drives everything else we do, instead of maybe focusing on function and performance. It's all about aesthetics. And what I really liked about the podcast is there was three different women with three different body types talking about what they prefer and how they accept their bodies as they are. And I thought it was just really cool being in this industry. I've been coaching for, I don't know, 10, 8-ish years, so not super long. I have not come across a single client that does not have body image issues or like doesn't feel comfortable in their own skin, doesn't like the way their body looks, wants to change it in some way. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing when it becomes consuming and the number one driver of all of our actions, that's where it becomes concerning.
Definitely. And an interesting thing to me was that, like you said, they all have different bodies. They're all from the same family.
Right.
They all
Yeah.
share the same genetics, right? And that's usually one of the biggest things that we come back to is like, I can't change your genetics. And right there,
Right.
they all share the same genes.
Yep.
And here they are with completely different looks and body types and everything like that. So just like super interesting touch on that. One other thing that I wanted to add there was um that last thing that you said, that you've never met an individual who actually like loved their body, right? And this was something that actually came up. I think it was on our first conversation. You had asked me if I had ever met someone who just loved their body and was like in tune with their body. And I was like, if I did, they are like the diamond in the rough. Like I don't
Yeah.
for them. And I was thinking about it afterwards, and I actually do have a friend. And like I said, they don't shine out because they are so few and far between. But I have a friend who's in the same business group as me, and I remember her coming by Mission Mama to visit me one time, and she was just like talking about she was like, I'm hungry and I brought some food with me. Do you mind if I eat? And I was like, no, by all means. And she's like, okay. She's like, yeah, I know my body so fully and completely. Like, I know exactly what it needs. I know every single cue that it has, all of these things. And I was just like, this is like such a foreign concept
Yeah.
to me. She was like, I crave movement. And like, that's one of the big things that she does is like lots of like movement for your soul and dance. And she does a lot of nervous system work. And I was just like, listening to her speak about how well she knows her body and how in tune she is with her body. And I was just like, this can't be real. And I think that's why it's like it stuck with me, but like in the background, it's like not one that pushes to the front very easily. So
Yeah.
it literally wasn't until after the fact when I went back and was listening that I was like, I do know someone
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, like such a foreign concept that does not come up as much as I would like to see it come up. Definitely not something that I've ever
Right.
experienced.
Yeah, same.
Um, but yeah, so just a different take and one that I feel like we don't see quite as much.
No. Yeah, definitely not.
Um, all right, so looking at our list here because we had a lot of things to touch upon, but um don't want to spend too much time on it. However, that being said, one thing that I think is interesting that we talked about before was societal influence. We talked about this before, and we talked about how it starts at such a young age. I think you had mentioned either doing some kind of information gathering or research or whatever it was, and you were like, this can start in children as early as age like 6.
Yes, six. They found eating disorders or disordered eating
Mhm.
in children as early as 6 years old.
And it, it got me thinking because we both have young girls.
Hmm.
And this is definitely something like I remember being in elementary school and having um body insecurities, I would call
Yeah.
them at that time. And I always think about that with my kids and especially with my daughter. Because I just feel as though females are more susceptible to these things.
Yeah.
Um, and the interesting thing is like kids are so much more in tune with their body.
100%. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
my husband gets so frustrated sometimes because Arya eats so slow and he'll be like, "Come on, hurry up. Like we gotta go do the next thing or like we gotta go to bed or whatever."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Will you stop rushing her?" He's like,
Yeah.
"Rush." All right, I am kind of rushing her. I'm like,
Yeah.
just let her do it. But like it's so interesting to watch their behaviors. And so like my question became like, when does that go away? Like what makes that go away?
Um, I think it is like the outside, like maybe trying to fit in. Like everyone else, let's use the eating thing, for example. Everyone else eats their lunch so fast, and I don't want to be the only one that's still eating. So then I change to conform to what everyone else is doing because I didn't want to be different.
Yeah, that's a good thought. And also being in school, only having a certain allotment of time, or like if you're in the last of the
Yeah.
lunch line, then you get less time for lunch, things like that too.
Hmm.
And then like I wonder when kids start becoming aware. And like if there was nothing on TV, like would we be so aware of different body sizes?
So I will say when I did my research, the number one impact was if the mother had disordered eating, the child was like 90% more likely to have disordered eating. So it's not even in them like it's not even in you saying anything, it's actually even in like your body language, um
Mhm.
and the different things you do. Like for example, if I looked in the mirror and my kid is watching me and I'm like, oh my God, these jeans look so horrible. I mean, look at my rolls, roll over, whatever. Or not even say anything, but look in the mirror and be like, and sad. Like they pick up and read on all of those things. And when I was doing my research, those were the big key determining factors or influences to children having disordered eating or body image issues later in life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've found myself before, like it's almost like a suffer in silence type of deal, right? Because like I don't want to voice those things out loud to her
Hmm.
in certain instances, but then like I have to check myself because I'm like I can't be like beating up on myself just internally. Like it's still in
Right.
existence, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like it still exists. I'm still giving this narration to myself.
Right.
My monologue is not very good right now, so checking in with that. So what's I think what would be helpful is to like actually identify and name. So there are three different body types, right? So there's
Hmm.
ectomorph, which tends to be like very lean, skinny, long boned, cannot put on fat mass very easily, probably very high metabolism, things like
Hmm.
that. Then there are mesomorphs, where they really build muscle very easily. They tend to be a lot broader, um, filled out, things like that. And then there are endomorphs, which tend to carry fat mass very easily, tend to put on fat mass very easily, and also be more on that broader, bulkier range. And these are all different body types. And
Hmm.
when we learn about them, they are not ranked like desirable versus
Yeah,
undesirable, right? They just
yeah,
exist.
yeah. And I think a key part to that I don't think we talk about a lot, but if we're talking about genetics and like ancestry, those things kept us alive, right? So if your ancestors come from cold climates, they needed to hold fat to keep themselves warm and alive. And if you came from like a more tropical area, you didn't need that, right? You needed your metabolism to be a little bit faster. And it was faster because the heat, there's the cold, like there's all those pieces to it. And I think we forget those pieces too when we talk about genetics, is like ancestrally, we needed it to survive. We may not need it now because we have, indoor heat and all of that, but there is a component to that we don't
Correct.
talk about.
Absolutely. 100%. Um, it's It's the same as when you're in the gym, right? Like if you change your grip or you change the way you load something, it's going to make an impact on your adaptation.
Right.
Same thing with all of this. The climate makes a
Correct.
difference. The season makes a difference. Your
Hmm.
genetics make a difference. Your medical history makes a difference. Like all of these things play a
Right.
huge role, and we can't necessarily like outsmart any of them.
Right. Right. And I think one of my things is Darwinism was not survival of the fittest. It was survival of who can adapt to what they needed to survive. So adaptability is one of our pillars, because that's what we're trying to do, right? Elicit this adaptation. And in order to get that adaptation, then you need to put your body through the stimulus that is going to get that adaptation. And so, um, yeah, I think, there is like that Darwinism, ancestral, anatomy, biology is all mixed in.
Absolutely. Um, All right, so while we're on this topic of like different body types and
Uh-huh.
also um of thinking too in terms of like climate, seasons, things like that, we're
Yeah.
heading into summertime, right? So
Hmm. Yep.
generally for most people, this is going to mean less clothing or less
Right.
coverage with
Hmm.
clothing. So one of the points we had on here are certain types of clothing only made for certain types of bodies.
In an opinion standpoint or in the fashion industry?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, it's really none of my business what you want to wear. Like
Mhm.
whatever you're comfortable in, and I tell my clients that all the time. Like, if you feel more comfortable in a baggy t-shirt and sweatpants, by all means. Like, but if you feel more confident in a sports bra and little shorts, I could care less. Like it's about you and your journey.
Yep.
The fashion industry, however, remember I went to school for fashion merchandising and management. So I will say yes, they design clothes specifically for specific body types.
Yeah.
Because you know what irritates me to no end is the plus size section. I don't understand why you had to make it ugly. Like it was cute and then you did something weird to it. Why? Just leave it the same.
Yeah. A
It's
hundred
just like
percent.
they didn't need an extra ruffle or like something weird on it. Like you didn't need to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, 100%. I love it. We're getting some real emotions
so
today.
annoying because like
Tell me how
I
you
mean
really feel,
I
girl.
used to like do buying for people. Like I would go to stores with them and I like help them find clothes or whatever. And it's like as soon as you get over an extra large, it like got weird. And I was like, we didn't need to do that. There was no reason to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And sizing is crazy too. You could
Oh
buy
my
the
God.
same size at a million different stores
Hmm.
and it's gonna be a different size. There's nothing uniform. There's no consistency. Absolutely zero.
100%. And that feeds right into all of this, right? Like,
All of this, body insecurity, body dysmorphia,
right.
body image issues, eating disorders, disordered eating, conflict. It's infuriating.
Yeah. It's like a giant spider web that has
Mhm.
gotten us to where we are now. And I will say, I think it's changing now that we're more aware of it. But yeah, it is. Like the
Mhm.
fact that so growing up, I was always bigger than my friends. They were very petite. And
Yep.
so just being in a medium or a large was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like the worst thing ever. If I was like extra small, small, like
Mhm.
crazy. But no one can see the inside of my pants.
No.
No one can see what size it is except for me.
Hmm. Being a double
So
digit pant size for the majority of my life, I was like, this is the worst thing ever. Like a 10, I was like, oh my God.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now I'm like, I wish. Like, if
Yeah,
I'm being completely honest, but like,
right.
but also, no, I don't wish because, right, we're trying to find this. But these are the voices, right? These are the tones, these are the messages, everything like that that becomes so challenging to manage because they aren't
Yeah,
existent. So, yeah, I agree. My personal opinion, no, you wear whatever you want. If it wasn't made for you, it wouldn't be offered in all these different sizes.
right, right, right.
I mean, buy it. It's on the rack. It fits you. If you feel good, then
That's all
that
that
piece of
matters.
clothing is meant to for you. It's meant to
Correct.
go home in your bag and into your closet and right into the rotation of your wardrobe. If you
Hmm.
don't feel good in it, then there's no pressure to buy it. And that was one thing that I started telling myself after I had kids was like, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
literally. And I was never about that mentality with like really anything in my life. And then when it came time to like go shopping and everything like that. And also, if I need to go up a size and I feel good in the size up, buy the size up.
right,
There's
right.
nothing wrong with sizing up because for so long I'd get so frustrated with like, why do I have like a bulge in my stomach? Like I was buying a size that was too small.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, no,
yeah,
I feel more confident when I wear something that helps my body size and shape. Um, I hate to say it this way, but like I'll say be more visually appealing for me and
yeah,
be more comfortable to the point that I don't
right.
feel like I'm having to like strain to breathe or anything like anything like that. So yeah, shopping now for comfort for my body and a visual appeal for me personally has made like a tremendous difference versus like, oh, well, that's a size 14 and it's a little tight, but the 16 fits really good, but it's a 16. Like, no,
Hmm. Nobody, yeah, no
no,
one knows. Yeah,
who cares?
yeah.
And easier said than done, right? Because
Oh,
like,
100%.
like
Yeah.
I still care. Like, newsflash,
I
but
I
I
do.
still care.
Yeah.
I still care.
My anxiety, but I
Yeah,
do.
it really cares. The BITCH in my head really
She
cares
cares.
about that. She's got a lot of opinions.
This is a perfect segue actually into pregnancy and postpartum
It is.
because
It is.
um the fact of the matter is you're probably going to need bigger clothes, right? And so like I know for a lot of people, even though logically you understand you're growing another human being, buying that pair of pants or whatever shirt that is bigger is like a big like attack. Like
Yep.
you're like I feel horrible about myself. Now, so I personally, and this is a distorted way to look at it, so it's not okay. But growing up, you could ask my mom, but I was like, being pregnant is the only acceptable time to be fat.
Mm,
And that was my mindset around it, which is not okay. But I didn't have as, and I'm not excusing it. I did not have as many body image issues while I was pregnant.
mm,
So and it wasn't even that I was like, oh, I'm pregnant, so I'm fat. I just like, I don't know. For me personally, I didn't struggle while I was pregnant. I had more struggles after pregnancy.
mm.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also a different layer to um not just body image, but I would say body acceptance during
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy. And we can split these up. I think it's important to do that, in fact, but I'll at least lay it out there right now. My idea of like this body acceptance is like we're literally forced to share our body with another individual who we've also
Mm-hmm.
never met.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like,
How
it's just
rude.
a weird concept. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but like, and no disrespect to any individual who's watching this or anything like that, but if, until you've experienced it, it may not make sense in your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Also,
for
like,
sure.
yes, we choose this. We choose to become pregnant. That does not mean that it's not a huge freaking reality check and like whirlwind when
Mm-hmm.
actually experiencing it and all of these changes start happening to our body and we're like, what the F
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is this?
Yeah. 100%.
And like, I don't know if you had any of this, but like, I had some resentment at the beginning when like I was having so many symptoms with Aria and everything like that of like, I feel like every decision I have to make, I have to consider somebody else, not just myself. You know, the food I want to eat, like I can't, I don't know, can I eat this cheese? Is it pasteurized? Like I just want a freaking turkey sandwich that's cold and I
First of all, I just
can't.
ate
Like this
that.
is
I just ate it.
insanity.
So I had that, but not until later.
Okay.
Um, and body acceptance. So towards the end, I was very frustrated because my body was unable to do things. I had to stop working out
Mm,
um 2 to 3 months before I gave birth because I had really bad ligament and pelvis pain that like even just taking a walk around the block, like I'd be in excruciating pain.
mm.
And that was the most frustrating thing. Like I couldn't even I know everyone says this, but I couldn't even tie my freaking shoe. Like
Yeah.
your belly is just in the way. And like I was like, this is ridiculous. And I'm a very independent person.
Yep.
So having to ask for help or needing help with things was actually more frustrating um, than like the morning sickness or any of that for me personally.
Yeah. So interesting because my experience was like the opposite of yours, right? So I didn't have a lot of that ligamentous and structural pain until after when I was postpartum
Okay.
with Aria,
Yep.
postpartum with Aria, but during my early pregnancy, so I bled first and second trimester with both of my kids.
Oh, wow.
With
Okay.
Aria, it was just kind of like a smear of blood when you would go to the bathroom and wipe, but like still alarming because you can't
Yeah.
blood during pregnancy and you're like, this is something's wrong, right? So I was at
Right.
triage like every other freaking week.
Yeah.
With Nathan, I would actually like fill the toilet bowl
Oh, wow.
with blood.
Yeah.
Um, so my inactivity kicked in so much earlier, and I actually
Yeah.
think that's what like propelled so much of my body image issues during pregnancy because like I felt like the one thing that I would have to be able to like control
Mm-hmm.
was exercise. And I felt like this is going to be my outlet and I'm going to be able to move so much and I'm just going to like take really good care of myself. And then I was put on pelvic rest and I
Oof.
couldn't exercise.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, what the hell do I do? And I feel like I just like spiraled
Mm-hmm.
that point of like, okay, well, I can't exercise, so I'm gonna eat Chipotle and I'm gonna, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with eating
Yeah.
Chipotle.
Yeah. No,
Let
no.
me just
Yeah.
say that. But
Or
like,
we'll, yeah.
it literally became a multi-night a week, just like I'm allowing all of these things
Mm-hmm.
because I was dealing with so much frustration and I didn't have an outlet for it. And that's
Yeah.
probably, I would imagine, something that a lot of people experience as well. So I guess just to give a little sense of like if that's your experience, like you are not alone and
Mm-hmm.
as frustrating as it can be. I think I would wish I had found myself some more support during that stage of my pregnancy so that I wasn't so like overwhelmed by everything that I was losing.
Yeah. I think I experienced that more postpartum, especially with like my body not being my own still. It was like, okay, I dedicated my body to this child for 9, 10 months. Let's be honest, it's 10 months.
Mm.
And then afterwards, they still need you for everything. Like, I had a really, really hard time with breastfeeding because for me, it was again like my body is on my own. It's just this thing for this kid to use.
Yes.
And like not being able to working out is like my time. Like it's just
Yes.
me in the weight and like everything else kind of just like melts away. And not having that, it was like I don't have a huge piece of myself that
Mhm.
is missing. And whether that's in pregnancy or postpartum, it's very frustrating. And I understand not having that outlet.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that I experienced, excuse me, with body size during pregnancy. So when I was pregnant with Aria, I was still working in college athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm working with other strength coaches, athletic trainers, sports medicine
Yeah. Yes.
personnel, and all of us have training in disordered eating, body image, body dysmorphia, all these things.
Caffeine addiction.
Bro, the number of times people, coworkers ask me, damn, are you sure there ain't two in there?
uh, why do they comment? Like,
And I'm
why?
just like, first of all, you're trained in REDS protocol. Like you are trained in how to deal with body image issues. Would you ever walk up to one of your athletes and make a comment on their body in any
Right.
given situation?
Mm-hmm.
So what gives you the right to make a comment on mine?
Right.
And not
Right.
just mine, but pregnant women,
Mm-hmm.
period.
Yeah.
Like, why do we assume that just because it's public or known knowledge that someone is pregnant, that all of a sudden we have a permission slip, people have a permission slip to talk about your body as if it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't bother you because this is only temporary, right?
Right. Right. I think too, you don't get that even with just colleagues or people. Like your doctors do that. I remember them specifically, um, like towards the end being like, oh, you're gaining a lot of weight.
Hmm.
And I was like, great, that's just what I wanted to freaking hear. I
Yeah.
feel great about myself. Thank you so much. They're like, oh, well, we just want to be concerned about gestational diabetes and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you don't think I already know this?
Know
Like,
this.
I understand
Yeah.
as a medical professional, it's your job to make sure you're educating me on the risks, but it's like, I already fucking know.
Yeah.
And like, you're making it worse. Also, like, you have no privacy. The whole swabby all up in your business. It's like, okay, like it's fine. I don't like you're just so exposed and like talked about
Hmm.
in the doctor's office and outside of the doctor's office, and it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I straight up refuse to take appointments with the midwife in my OBGYN's office anymore because she was the one who commented on my weight. My provider, my direct doctor, never
Hmm.
said anything about my weight. I was worried about it, so I would ask her and she'd just be like, everything's, looks good and is checking out fine. So like
Hmm.
I don't have any concerns, we'll
Yeah.
just we'll see how things keep progressing. But it was when I had like I had rescheduled an appointment, went to see the midwife. I was the only person who had availability. And she was like, wow, you really gained a lot of weight since your appointment. And I was just like, what? I was like, well, my doctor's never like said anything about it. And she was like, really? Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like,
Wow.
so I don't know. I think just like here's the permission slip to women
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, if somebody that you're working with who's supposed to be supporting you during your pregnancy is making you feel uncomfortable or insecure, you have
Yeah.
every single right to voice your opinion and
A
ask for
hundred
better
percent.
care. And I
A
think that's
hundred
something we
percent.
need to do in general, especially when it comes to our body is
Mm-hmm.
demand higher level care for
A
ourselves
hundred percent.
as women because
Yeah.
that's just like unacceptable. That's not poor bedside manner, that's poor
No.
nursing.
100%. Yeah. I had a similar experience. Well, it wasn't about weight. I was getting towards, I think it was second, maybe starting to get into third trimester. And I was like, look, first of all, I was a male doctor. So I was asking to see pelvic floor PT before, like right now, like in second, third trimester. I was like, I want to see beforehand. I researched that it can help with birth and recovery and yada yada. I just want to see pelvic floor PT, and I'm having some incontinence. And he was like, well, that happens in pregnancy. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. I want a referral to pelvic floor PT. And unless you have a vagina, please stop talking right now. Like I don't care. I just want to see a physical therapist for pelvic floor, and I don't really need your, oh, it's perfectly normal excuse.
Mm,
So yeah, make sure you speak up for yourself.
yeah, and can we just like common is not normal.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's a very
Different.
large
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah.
right? Like normal is your body changes during pregnancy. That's normal. Your
Yeah.
body is going to change during pregnancy.
Hmm.
Your body is no longer going to retain urine because of pregnancy is common and a treatable symptom of pregnancy. It is
Right.
not normal. That is
Right.
dysfunction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if we could just clarify this.
And so it's for those of you who don't know, so you can see a pelvic floor physio. They specialize in pelvic floor. Not all physical therapists do that, but a lot do now, which is great. And I didn't realize before I really started researching that I had pelvic floor dysfunction before I ever got pregnant, and I had no idea. So then when I did get pregnant, I wanted to make sure that whatever I could do to make sure it didn't get any worse while I was pregnant or maybe get better while I was pregnant, I made sure I went and saw physio. I saw one before I gave birth and after for quite a while.
I think we just found our next topic for our next is talking about pelvic floor and pelvic health PTs.
Would be great.
But yeah, it's a great resource. And honestly, we should be referring so much more than we do. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we aren't there just yet, but we're definitely making very positive strides for
Did
sure.
you know in other countries it's like part of the
Automatic
postpartum
refer
care
Yeah.
automatically? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I thought that was very interesting. I was like, oh, my mom was like, never heard of it ever
Yeah,
before.
no, no.
No, no. They were like, oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, 100%.
yeah, crazy.
Um, okay, so did you, I'm just looking back at our questions. So we talked a bit about training during our pregnancies and then um
Oh, laziness.
laziness. Yeah, I think a reduction of in energy. So I
Yes.
I remember more so with I was tired with Aria, definitely, but like second baby pregnancy
Hmm.
tired is like a whole was like a whole new experience for me. I was
Hmm.
like, holy moly, I have not been this exhausted since postpartum, like the early postpartum days with Aria when you're not
Yeah,
sleeping because you're like cluster feeding.
yeah.
If you know what I mean? And I was just like, oh my God. I remember looking at Dave at one point and I was like, I'm a waste of a human being right now.
Mm,
I'm a waste of life. And he was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I'm so tired. I did
yeah,
nothing today. I'm
yeah, yeah,
exhausted. And he was like,
yeah,
I mean, you are growing a whole ass human being.
yeah, yes.
I was
Let's
like,
not forget.
I know, but like, right? Like, how
Yeah,
easy is it to just
so
like,
easy.
yeah, but like, no, but I
Yeah.
shouldn't be tired.
Hmm. I would say first trimester, I was still finishing school. And I was so tired. I would literally just like fall asleep sitting. Like it was an exhaustion I've never felt before in my
Yep.
life. Second trimester, totally different story. Third
Mhm.
trimester was okay, but it was like at that point moving was just
Yeah,
exhausting.
that's the hard part.
And it's like, yeah, you feel real lazy, but like I just grew some toes today, so maybe be quiet.
Just like made a whole liver and brain.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What did you do
Wait, what
today,
did you do today?
huh? Good for you. Yeah, so I think that's the main thing. I think we don't give mothers enough credit for just making another human life. Like they're taking parts of you to make themselves, and like we don't give them enough credit on being like, it's okay that you didn't do the laundry today.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, you grew a liver. Like I think
Yeah,
you're good.
I think you're all set to just Netflix and chill for the rest of the
Yeah, and like
like
that should be okay.
yeah, I with Nate, I actually ended up having so with Aria, I worked up until 39 weeks. And then
Mhm.
with Nathan at 35 weeks, I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot. And I was had transitioned at that point. I was working as a personal trainer. So like
Mhm.
role is a little bit different in
Yes.
terms of working with clients. So like
Mhm.
when I was in a weight room, strength and conditioning with athletes, I'd be like, yo, clear your own bar. Like that's not my
Yeah, I'm not
responsibility.
touching
But
that.
then like when
Yeah.
you're working personal training, it's almost like a like it's more of a service industry,
Hmm.
like a customer journey.
Yeah.
So like weights on and off the bars, helping every set, setting things up. And I was just like, whoa, like I
Hmm.
can't bend over to change one more
Yeah.
bar. Like,
No, no.
no.
Yeah.
And also, the pain is and discomfort is starting, previous SI joint issues, things like
Hmm.
that. So I was just
Yeah.
like, I went to my doctor's appointment at 35 weeks and I was like, tapped out. I'm done.
Yeah.
And she was
I'm done.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Which was but also like really hard because then like I went home and I'm just like, what do I do? And it's like you
Right.
sit and you
Yeah.
chill
Yeah.
and things are still changing and body is still changing. And for someone who has a distorted view of their body to just
Hmm.
go and sit or lay and
Hmm.
feel lazy while your
Hmm.
body looks and feels completely different is a really, really uncomfortable position to be put in.
Yes. Yes.
And I think so many people are like, oh, yeah, your day must have been so hard. You just like hung out. But when you're just hanging out with yourself
Right.
and you're doing that narrative, all freaking day long, like, yeah, it is really hard and it is really draining. So it's another thing that's
Hmm.
draining your energy. It's another
Right.
thing that's making you feel like crap. It's so incredibly hard. And like these things don't get enough attention. It's like,
No.
I feel like everything with pregnancy is just like flipped and switched to be such a positive thing. And it
Yeah.
is. It's a
It
great
is.
thing. It's a positive
But it
experience.
can also suck.
And it sucks. Like,
Yeah.
can we just validate both freaking things being true?
Yes.
Like in
Yes.
all scenarios, like all
Oh
of your
yeah,
feelings
100%.
can be valid. Both things can be true.
At
I
the
can love
same
you
time.
and hate you
Right.
sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can be super excited to be pregnant and having this baby and hate the fact that I'm pregnant and have to have this baby. Like
Right. Right.
it is a real thing. That, my friends, is normal.
Yes. That
That is
we'll put that
normal.
in the normal category. You can also be scared and excited and anxious, like all the feels, because it's literally life changing.
Yes.
So like feel the feels, and I I don't know if I took that time, that downtime to
Mm.
kind of I'm a very like busybody. I have ADD, so I'm always like beep, 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 beep. Took the time to be like, no, I'm not doing shit.
Mm.
And that's just how it's going to be. And so like I kind of took that opportunity to really like sit in that. And I
Mhm.
didn't have so much of that like, oh, I should be doing something during that time period, which was a big change for me. But if you are struggling with that, definitely like a therapist to talk all that through and kind of work with them. I think before you have the baby is a great opportunity to kind of maybe settle some of those things before they get here, because on it for me personally, the postpartum journey was way harder than pregnancy. And everyone's different, everyone's pregnancy is different, but postpartum was way harder on me than pregnancy.
Yeah, definitely. And we will definitely jump into um postpartum in a sec here, but just like rounding out pregnancy, I feel like just like note for every woman who is or has or may be pregnant or trying to conceive that like it's okay to feel all
Mm-hmm.
the feels. It's okay to love your body in one moment and really dislike it in another. And
100%.
that doesn't mean that you or your body is bad. It
Mm-hmm.
means that today's a hard day
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're doing a lot. You are changing a lot. Your body is changing a lot. And your life is being altered in a way that most other people cannot even begin to understand.
Correct.
Just take
Correct.
it a little moment at a time and try to like give yourself some space and some grace to like find the best way for you to live in all of these moments.
Agreed. Agreed. Yes. And some of the changes that are happening with your body does hold on to more fat. That is purposeful. Okay. So like some of these changes are very purposeful for the health of your baby and for the health for yourself and for breastfeeding and different things that happen during pregnancy and birth. So remember that these changes have reasons, and it's not because you ate too much Chipotle, like your body's not bad, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Absolutely. And if you are, we already put a disclaimer at the beginning, and this is a great time for a little bit of support here. Pregnancy and early postpartum are not times for restriction. So if you
Mm-hmm.
are really struggling with the look
Yes,
and feel and changes that your body is going through, this is absolutely a great time for you to go find a registered dietitian to work with, to talk to your medical
100%.
providers, to demand that care if they're not giving it to you. but to just advocate for yourself and what you need, even if it feels uncomfortable, even if this is something that you struggled with for a really long time. And so it feels natural to
Yeah.
go to ways of restriction or anything like that. Or on the flip side, if you're concerned about the
Too
fact that
much
you're not
consumption.
gaining enough weight
Yeah.
and things like that, definitely reach out to your medical providers and try to find some support.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can be done to help you have a better experience. So do not
Yeah.
be shy to speak up and get that help for yourself.
100%. And just remember that your caloric needs and your food needs are going to change through the different stages. So that's great to have someone that knows what that looks like to be able to present it to you. Because I think a lot of the times when we're struggling with stuff like that, it's because we just don't know. So having a professional guide us, it takes that pressure off of you to know everything. Like let them know it.
Yeah.
That's their job.
Okay, so I feel like this is a good time to jump into postpartum discussion and how that impacts body image. So we can just jump into the big daddy here, which is bounce back mentality.
Yes. So, as a personal trainer, there is this assumption that you know what to do and that you were so healthy before that you're going to bounce back super quick. And I had a lot of pressure around that specifically um, about, and I held myself to that standard really that I was like, yeah, I'm going to bounce back. And people are going to be like, oh my God, you had a baby. You don't look like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. So I openly blame bounce back mentality for my pelvic floor dysfunction. Now, I blame it for the severity of my pelvic floor dysfunction, I will say, because um, I took my 6 week clearance to return to all activities,
Yeah.
very literally.
Hmm.
Um, I also want to state, like, I don't know if your experience was different, but when I was going through undergrad and grad school, like, I don't even remember the terms pelvic floor being in any of the textbooks. Like, that is a completely foreign concept to me.
Mm-mm.
And pregnancy and postpartum, we did not talk about at all.
We did talk about pregnancy, but not postpartum.
So I didn't get any of that. And I just thought that like my knowledge of the human body would like allow me to do what needed to be done.
Hmm.
I don't think I accounted for the fact that like I would be so intensely impacted by a desire to change my body back to something that I don't think it could return to.
Hmm.
And I'm okay saying that because I am a believer in once postpartum, always postpartum.
Hmm.
Um, but I pushed myself real hard post 6 weeks, high intensity interval training, hit workouts, lots of impact, lots of working for X amount of time, resting for very minimal time, anything to burn fat.
Hmm.
And I ended up with um SI joint pain very intensely, like you were describing earlier, pain radiating down my leg. Like, was
Hmm.
worried I was gonna drop Aria because it would
It was
just
so
like
bad.
once it hit, you're like, whoa, it's almost like it stops you right in your
Right.
tracks. Pain and a grade 2 bladder prolapse. And I was like, I'm sorry, what do you mean prolapse?
Yeah.
Like where the organ comes
What
out
is
of
that?
me? Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. What is
But
that?
when like I first started experiencing those symptoms, like I called my provider and they were like, yeah, a lot changes after you have a baby. We'll just, write a script for a higher dose ibuprofen. And I was like, okay. I just thought it was
Mhm.
because I was out of shape.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm just this out of shape. And it was
Hmm.
my desire to attain a body that I wanted to either get back to or probably not even get back to because I still wasn't happy with the body I had before pregnancy. So
Yeah.
attain
Yeah.
whatever it was, but not what I had. And I pushed myself so hard that I injured myself really badly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was going through a lot of issues in my marriage at the time. And I was so stressed and anxious that I was not eating. And so I was still working out, still taking care of my kid, which my husband was deployed at the time. So it was just me and baby. And I went back to work. This was about 4 months postpartum. And when you don't eat, you lose weight pretty rapidly. And for me, I was in such a poor mental health state, not only dealing with the issues in my personal life, but trying to be a new mom and figuring that all out. And I wasn't eating, but because I looked healthier in the mirror in my eyes because I had lost weight, I was pleased. Like I, so much to the point where I lost 7 pounds in about a week, very rapidly. And this is a prime example of like I may have looked healthy, but I was probably the unhealthiest I've ever been in my entire life because my mental health was completely trash and I just was not eating at all.
Mhm.
So I wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating, like very poor health. But on the outside, I looked healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, like there is no eye test for health.
Yeah.
Can't look at a person and say like, oh, that person's healthy and that person is unhealthy. It simply does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I've done it a million times to
Mm-hmm.
myself, to other people.
Yeah.
I mean, we're human beings, right? We're not
Yeah.
perfect. And
Right.
these things are thrust in front of our face every opportunity that any marketing company has.
Right. Right.
Um, so yeah, like no wonder it's going to happen. It's just it's so unfortunate because that right there in and of itself is so poor for our health,
Mm-hmm.
for our mental
Yeah.
health
100%.
and our physical health, but like
Yeah.
especially our mental health. And I think when it
Yeah.
comes to body image, like that's such a drastically under discussed piece of poor body image,
Mm-hmm.
body dysmorphia, things like that, is that this really comes down to like mentally what we're telling ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, you are not, we are not mental health practitioners here.
Correct. Yeah.
That being said, we do, given what we do, receive a lot of training in how to support people through these
Mm-hmm.
things. And so, like, again, if this is one of the narratives that you have within yourself, if these are the habits that you're starting to notice, like,
Yeah.
I look good, therefore I must be healthy, or like,
Right.
if I looked better, I would be healthy. Like,
Right.
what is your definition of health? Because
Right.
mental health is a huge piece of that. And I can tell you right now, at my smallest sizes, at my lightest
Mm-hmm.
weights, at my most muscularly defined, I was probably mentally the most unhappy I've ever been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was struggling
So,
intensely, severe depression, so much overwhelming anxiety. And that was like the only thing that was keeping me going. But at least I look good.
yeah, at least I look good.
At
Yeah,
least I look
so
good.
that was just speeding the bounce back, right? Because I was like, oh, I did it. I bounced back. And so I lost a lot of strength, both just physically and mentally. I did end up getting a therapist and like working for
Mhm.
a year or more on a lot of those things. Um, yeah, and one of them being is like just mental health and your physical health are so tied together. Like if your mental health is poor, no matter what you look like, your body's suffering.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Um, Okay. So we did talk about being okay with your body not looking the same. Um,
Yeah.
I think one extension from there is that like also normalizing the fact that your body may never look the same.
Yeah.
I tell individuals this all the time. We cannot unhave babies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anatomically, structurally, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of these things have changed and have been impacted, and
Yeah.
every single one of them plays into each other.
Correct. Yeah.
Our body structure changes, and therefore we view our body differently, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore our mental state is altered, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore our emotional state is altered, and so on and so forth. And we just continue on this hamster wheel. So I think normalizing that. And I've also been presented with like, but their body did. And like we've already touched upon this. Like we cannot
Yeah.
control other people's genetics. We cannot control what one person's body does versus what another's does or does not do.
Right. And on the just to butt in real quick on
Mhm.
that, they may look healthy, but they may have an organ prolapse you don't know anything about. So just
Yep.
putting those two together.
Again, 100%. Yes. And that was a beautiful correlation between those two things because they do exist. There is no eye test for health and wellness.
Yeah.
Um, so is it okay to like desire these things? Like, yeah, I think that's a normal thing. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to like grieve the loss of what we had once, but may not
Yeah.
have again.
100%.
Um, so to normalize like those feelings and a like beautiful and gentle reminder is that we have no idea what this stage of life will look like. We have
Yeah.
no idea what we are capable of at
Yeah.
this point, even if it takes a long time. And this is,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about it before, the no BS approach that I put together, but this is one thing I talk about all the time, and that is at what point does our body stop being stressed out from motherhood? Does it ever?
Never. I still call my mom.
I was
I'm
gonna say,
32
like,
years
I
old.
still, like, I think I will always worry about my child no matter what. And we know that stress is directly correlated to like so many
Yeah.
of the things that we've talked about with health and wellness. So, like, is it that, well, well, if I'm always stressed, I'm never going to accomplish the things? No, no,
Yeah.
definitely not. There are management strategies, there's working with a therapist, there's working with a dietitian, there's all of these things to support.
Mm-hmm.
What we're trying to do is like open the curtain of all the
Yes.
possibilities that are there and show you that like perhaps where you are now can be even better than where you were then.
Right.
Just don't know yet.
Exactly. So, perfect point. I think I was scared because it took me so long to get to a point where I felt I was like, I looked good. I looked athletic, which is crazy because when I look back at pictures, I was just small. Like I wasn't more muscular. I was just a smaller version.
Mhm.
And I thought being pregnant, having a baby was just going to destroy my body. And it took, I mean, I'm 3 years postpartum, but I'm way stronger than I've ever been,
Mhm.
both physically and mentally. So I don't want people to think their body's ruined forever because no one is saying that. Like, no one's saying you can't come back better and stronger than ever. Like, that's your body may not look the same. Like my stretch marks from having my kid are not going anywhere. But like I can deadlift like way more than I used to be able to. So like there's these things and they can both be true.
Yep. Yep. Um, I just saw this question on here and I think it's a great one. For where we're at right now is having a goal of losing weight postpartum a bad thing? No, having a goal of losing weight at any point in time is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's tying our value to that number, our
Yeah.
self-worth
Right.
to that number. Only
Mm-hmm.
when I achieve a smaller body size, only when I achieve this number on the scale will I be worthy of a new wardrobe, eating the foods that I enjoy, running around with my children, taking care of myself, going to a gym because I'm so nervous to step through
Hmm.
that front door. Like when our self-worth becomes tied to the accomplishment of weight loss, that is the thing that we are hoping to impact here and to
Yeah.
change. Having
And
the goal simply is perfectly fine.
yeah, 100%. 100%. I think it being your priority over taking care of yourself and your child is a problem. That's where it becoming concerning. Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Nah, I forgot. Continue.
That's okay. Another point I was going to make there too is like also prioritizing the things that need to be prioritized, especially in those early stages postpartum, in terms of
Yeah.
if you are breastfeeding, making sure that you're still calorically getting what you need because actually if you guys didn't know this, your demands for calories postpartum for breast milk production are actually higher than for during pregnancy, even in your third trimester. Like
Mm-hmm.
it takes more energy for your body to create breast milk than it does to grow a whole
Or human.
human being. Is that wild?
Yeah,
Right? Like
crazy,
it's
huh?
so crazy.
Yeah.
Um, the inner nerd in me is like, I wonder why that is.
I think because breast milk is so calorically dense, it's taking your calories. Like
Yes,
you're not
yeah.
utilizing them, the breast milk is.
Mm-mm.
That would be my theory on it. I don't know if that's true,
I
but
also wonder if it has something to do with like the fetus not necessarily internally stimulating whatever is needed anymore. It's an
true.
external stimulation, so maybe
Yeah.
bodies need to work harder.
No,
Maybe
that
that's
makes
the
sense.
reasons.
That makes
Anyways,
sense. I remember what
before
I
we
was
geek
gonna
out too
say.
much.
I remember what I was going to say. The really important thing that I find that you need to ask yourself when you're like focusing on weight loss or getting into a certain size pants or getting back, because we can't go back. Were you happy then? Were you truly happy then? Because
Yeah.
going back isn't going to make you happy now. So fitting into those pants, if you weren't happy then, you're not going to be happy now. And it's so much bigger than the pair of pants, you know?
100%. Yeah. I've had that experience so many times. Like I think that's why my time with like being always in a restrictive weight loss state was like even when I achieved my goal weights, even when I achieved the pant size that I wanted to be in, it still wasn't good enough.
Never. It's
Like
never
I
good
was
enough.
not satisfied. It was like,
Hmm.
or I was so freaking scared of like
Hmm.
what's gonna happen when I start eating
Yeah.
more again, like when I go
Hmm.
back to maintenance and I'm no longer restricting, that it would just
Yeah.
like all blow up. But like, it's just
Right.
like it's constant fear. It's just constant fear and constant dissatisfaction.
100%. 100%. And you really have to think about what it costs to get there.
Hmm.
And a lot of that is happiness and experiences and these things that when we're looking back on our lives on our deathbed, we won't like, oh, yay, I wore a size two, but I missed out on having cake with my kid for their birthday. Like,
Yeah.
it comes like, if we're going to talk about health as a big
Yeah,
picture, like, that's part of it. We're social
absolutely.
beings for a reason. And like, the experiences we have are really the things we're going to look back on. I mean, that's why we're all kind of in this and in part of this community is for health. So,
And food is a huge part of our social experiences too.
100%. Yeah.
There's no avoiding it. And so
Yeah.
I think the more time we spend trying to avoid it, the more overwhelmed we're going to be when it's just constantly there. Because it is.
Yeah.
It's just constantly there.
Right. Right.
It is. Yeah. So, um, we're in the last couple of things here. So, one, I know you spoke a little bit about postpartum depression. So, I've actually dealt with anxiety and depression for a really long time.
Hmm.
And I've been in therapy for a while, been on medication for a while. And I try to be more open, like, initially when I went into therapy, I was like, no one can know. I hate this. I like, what is wrong with me? And it was like, get out as quickly as possible. And then that wasn't working.
Hmm.
That just
Hmm.
set me further back.
Yes.
Um, Luckily, I think when I was dealing with more depression, anxiety postpartum, like that was when I finally got to the point where I was just like, I do not want to feel like this anymore. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't even care if I have to up my medication. I don't care if I have to start new medication. I just want to feel better.
Hmm.
Like, and nothing was changing that because this was also the time that I started losing weight postpartum.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I still felt horribly
Yeah.
depressed and overwhelmed and anxious. And I was like, nothing is working and I need something to work.
Hmm.
And honestly, like as weird as it may sound, I'm actually kind of thankful for the postpartum depression that I did experience because I think it got me to like such a better place with taking care of myself mentally.
Yeah.
I think I made a lot of the strategies like myself and my therapist and psychologist had been working on for a long time finally like click because I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it's more important to put these tools into place consistently and help myself consistently feel better than it is to be, again, like so scared of what it's going to mean or what it's going to do or how it's going to feel
Right.
if I'm open to these things.
Right. No, 100%. I also struggled with anxiety, depression, way before pregnancy. I was also medicated. I actually got off my medication just before I got pregnant. And my situation is so different because I don't know if I was experiencing postpartum depression or just the fact that my husband was cheating on me. So that one's a tough one for me to say for sure, which was which. I will say, similarly to you, working with my therapist, some of the things I did then, I still apply today. Like non-negotiables are one of the things, like self-care non-negotiables. It was to a point where it was like you have to change your clothes. That was one of my non-negotiables. Um, and if you're struggling with something like that, and you can get into therapy to help, that it goes such a long way. Like even and let's say you're struggling with postpartum and you haven't changed your clothes, you haven't showered, because that's a big thing, right? Like who's watching the baby while you're showering?
Hmm.
Just know you're not failing.
Yep.
Like we've all struggled. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to be like, I need a fucking shower, so somebody watch this kid for 2 minutes so I can bathe. Like while yes, they are your priority, you cannot pour from an empty cup. And
Hmm.
we do it time and time again. So, making sure you're prioritizing your mental health and your physical health, especially newly postpartum, is really important. Asking for help when you need it, whether that's a therapist or a spouse or a friend or a mother or whoever.
Yes. 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 Yes to all.
It's
I
hard. It's
will
a
just
tough
become repetitive if
season.
I like say anything else. It is. Yes. So true and so needed. Ask for help. Um,
Yes.
and then all right, Chris, what is one thing you would tell your new mom self about her body?
Um, hmm. I would tell her to be more careful with it.
Hmm.
Um, because I also jumped into exercise very quickly after, and experienced some pelvic floor dysfunction that I think if I had gone slower and really like built those foundations, I wouldn't be struggling now. So I think really just like giving it the time and being nicer to it, and like just be okay where you're at
Yeah.
because it gets better.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, for me, I think I would tell myself to have more pride and to be more proud of myself.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And that's not just as a new mom, that's from trying to conceive and all of the struggles that people go through with conception. That is even
Yeah.
before we think about conception, with thinking that our bodies are broken because we have really bad menstrual cycles or whatever
Hmm.
it may be.
Yeah.
Um, to be proud every single day of the things that our body is working really, really hard to do for us,
Yeah.
especially in the moments where maybe we're not helping it be able to do the hard things for us.
100%. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yours was good too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being proud is a hard thing. We tend to feel like very I don't know, like shamed by it. And there's nothing to be shamed about it.
We could always be doing better. But we could also always be doing worse.
Yes. Yes. 100%. It can always be worse.
Um, but yeah, this was a fun one. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that, if you relate in some way, please feel free to reach out too. We both said we were open books, but like if you're in a season right now that we may have gone through, like please reach out. If we can help in any way, we would love to. Or if we have a referral or a contact for you. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to state, we both can state if you want to do like your handle and email address, if you want to just state it, and then I can do mine too.
Yeah, so my handle is at Shewulf with a U dot life. And that's for Instagram and Facebook. I'm not cool enough to be on anything else. And my email is just the shewulf.life at Gmail.
Awesome. And my handle is at Mission Mama Training, and it's MAMA for mama. And then email will be Lexie, Lexie, at missionmamatraining.com.
Awesome.
Cool.
All right. Till
All right,
next
lady.
week.
Yes. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.